Oh, guys, welcome. It's so exciting to be doing this. I know it's been a while since we've done our last one, but that's okay. We're meeting now together and we're looking to meet the next one, hopefully in person. So hopefully we'll get the ball rolling and be able to give you guys updates for that. I'm going to do some intros, some housekeeping first, which you guys will be used to. But I'm going to go through quite quickly so we can dive straight into the presentations because there's a lot of meaty stuff for us to cover. So going through it, just to let you guys know, here's the house rules again. If you're new and you've not been here before, these will be on all of our presentations, so you can read through them. But here they are for you just to take a quick glance over now. Just to let you know, it is being recorded. So after the meeting, you'll be able to, after the mug, you'll be able to see it online, and we'll also send it out to you. But just to make you aware of that, so if you have any questions or anything like that you wouldn't want to be on the recording, feel free to send them through to Emily or Adele or myself or Darshil or Ajay, our presenters today, or anybody, or also the advocacy team at Adobe or anything like that. But just to let you guys know that. Ways that you guys can stay connected with us moving forward. You can sign up through the Bevy tool. All the details are right for there, and you'll just have to search for our chapter, the London Mug, and then you can join there. Some upcoming opportunities for you guys. I know I'm rushing through this fast, but it's because the presentations are amazing and we want to get to the juicy stuff. There's 3 certifications for you guys. So there's the details for them. I think we talked about this in a little bit more detail on our last mug, but the details are there if you guys are wanting that. And if you guys have any questions about the certifications, feel free to reach out to us in the Slack group or just personally and ask any of the questions if you guys have any. And then also Ajay, who's on our call today, has helped put together some of the certifications. So he's a great person. If you have questions after this, you could always ask as well. And then also just to let you know, the next champion office hours for the Marketo champs is going to be on July 14th. There's going to be all the champs that are there to answer your questions. When you RSVP, you can ask questions then as you RSVP, or you can ask on the day. And it's just to discuss best practices, share tips, engage. It's just a great way to kind of get plugged in and ask things. And also on this, I just want to note too, if you guys are new to Marketo, or even if you've been using it for ages and you guys have questions, also Marketing Nation is a great place to go to look up things, ask questions there. There's so many resources and so many people to jump on and help you. So don't forget about that. And then the good stuff. So I want to introduce you guys to today's speakers. So we're going to have Ajay first, who's the founder and CEO of Unicorn Martech DBA. Both of our speakers today are 2022 Adobe Marketo champions, which is really exciting. Ajay is going to be discussing email deliverability and inbox placement, and there's really good stuff to dive in there. We've been really lucky to see the presentations beforehand, so we know that they're juicy and you're going to love them. And then Darshil Shah is coming for us from Deloitte Digital. He's a consultant there and he's amazing, and he's going to talk to us about auditing and instance. And again, lots of good stuff there. So I'm going to hand over to Ajay now, and we'll go through that. And then, yeah, if you guys have any questions, hold on to them to the end, and just jot a note, because there will be time to ask questions at the end. But because there's so much to cover, we'll kind of by no means rush, but we'll go through the presentations first and then have questions after. Thanks.
Or just put them in the chat and then the speakers can see them and we can answer them.
Yes, great point. Perfect.
Hey, Courtney, thank you. Appreciate the introduction here, and thank you for having us here. So the topic which I'm going to cover is to improve your email deliverability and inbox placement. So as a consultant, I work with multiple instances and, come across various situations where, the clients are assuming their email campaigns and their emails are really producing very great results. They are getting good open rate, but still they're not getting any MQLs out of it. So this is all about, today's session is all about explaining you the journey, which many of us are aware, but the issues which impacts deliverability, and to find those issues, how to fix those issues, how to avoid the recurrences of those issues, and how to improve the email deliverability and ensure that emails are being placed to the any other folder like spam, promotions, etc. Could you please move on to the next slide? So this is how a typical journey of the email is. Means as a marketer, we all are aware of it. First set up the target audience and set up the or any other marketing on automation platform, then send the email. And while sending the email, that happens to be the second step. We skipped certain emails. Those could be subscribed invalid emails. So that is something which Marketo or any of the marketing automation platform takes care of it. The third one, that is being email delivered, and it is coupled with hard bounces and soft bounces. So hard bounces are like invalid email IDs, and soft bounces where the recipient's email client server might be down for a while, and Marketo will try to deliver the email in the subsequent intervals. And the fourth one, which is very important, and that is actually related to how many emails are actually being delivered to inbox, how many of those are being delivered to junk, junk, or and how many of those are actually got into spam, and how many emails were actually blocked by ISPs. So the traditional marketing automation platforms they give us the ability to find it out, the email open, email click, but certain tools and certain best practices which are available through which we could actually help and get the insights that where exactly our emails are getting delivered. And I will be showing you those ways in the coming slides. And the fifth stage is to find it out who has opened the email, who has not opened the email. And the sixth one is to find out if someone has clicked the link within the body of the email, someone subscribed, someone got into spam trap, and someone actually complained to I directly that hey, this sender is a spammer. How to find such scenarios and how to deal with those. Unfortunately, with the limited amount of time that we have it on this session, I didn't add much about spam traps, but just in case if you want to explore about what spam traps are and how to best avoid it, just go to Marketing Nation. You will be able to get many articles about it. Next slide, please. So here, the second stage, before sending out an email campaign, what exactly we need to ensure. So these are the best practices. The basic one is set up SPF, Sender Policy Framework, and DKIM, Domain Key Identified Email. These are the prerequisites that we should be doing it. But if we want to track the email deliverability with the greater insight, it is recommended that we should set up the DMARC policy. And I will be explaining you what DMARC policy is in the subsequent slides. And set up smart network data services that we call SNDS for Outlook.com, and track blacklisting alert for our IP or domain. And this one, the third one, is very important, because just in case if you are on shared IP on Marketo, then Marketo takes care of everything. Marketo has email compliance team, they take care of everything. They ensure that your IP is consistently not blacklisted, because not just only you, many other clients will be impacted. But think about if you are on a dedicated IP, and if in that situation how the IP is actually performing, whether that IP is getting blocked by few of the ISPs, how to find that out. So these are the insights. A few will be paid, a few will be free. So I will be giving you an option of both the scenarios, that which are the paid solutions that we have, and which are the which are the free best practices which we could utilize. And the another best practices are, we always need to ensure that we are using a clean email list. We need to have an unsubscribe option, so that we are giving the option to our email recipients an option to unsubscribe. It is always good to have a text version as well. We always need to adhere to GDPR and local laws. Otherwise, the company will get fined. And then, a catchy subject line and personalization. Apart from that, there are other best practices as well, that we need to ensure a decent text versus image ratio within the HTML content of any email. So these are the best practices, and now I will be walking you through on how to set these up. Next slide, please. So this slide is all about DMARC record. So I'll start it. What DMARC actually does means, how it is impacting the improved email deliverability. So the first thing is that, it helps in improving the email deliverability, because it gives you the visibility. It gives you the visibility in the sense, I'm just making this up. And, it actually happens with one of my clients. So I'll give you the example of my client that, they were not having a DMARC policy. They said everything from Marketo is going well. I suggested them to set up the DMARC policy. And although these steps are mentioned on the right side, and then, I started getting the alerts. Then in one of the alert I found out that, the SPF and DKIM records are failing, but everything was looking fine on Marketo. Then, when we started exploring it, we got to know that that specific email was sent from their sales CRM. And for that sales CRM, the SPF and DKIMs were not configured, but those were sent from the same domain of that client. So the beauty of DMARC is that, just in case, if you're working for a larger organization or smaller organizations, you have multiple Martech and sales tech stack, and there are multiple tools which you are using to send out the email campaigns. If one tool that is not following the best practices, the entire domain can get blacklisted. The beauty of DMARC is that it can send you those notifications every day. You will get to know that, although little intensive, they'll give you XML file attachments, but there are various tools available which you could use to, further analyze the data. But it will actually help you to find it out that, how many emails were sent from that specific domain, how many of those were sent without SPF and DKIM. So the biggest benefit, think about if there is any spoofing or phishing email sent from your corporate email ID without your knowledge, you will always get to know about it. Because, this is the beauty of setting up the DMARC. You have the option of setting up the DMARC policy in such a way that, you can get the notification for all these spoofing and phishing alerts, or, all the emails which are getting delivered. At the same time, while setting this DMARC record, you have the option to actually block the delivery of that email which you think could be spoofing and without any SPF and DKIM record. And so this is how it is. And, on the right hand side, I have actually explained that, how we are supposed to set up the DMARC record. And then, what are the best practices? I would suggest, don't restrict. If you are starting for the first time on DMARC while setting the DMARC policy, just get all the alerts so that you will find it out which are the systems which are with broken settings. And after 3 or 4 months after analyzing the data, then set up a very strict DMARC policy that any email that is without SPF and DKIM shouldn't be getting delivered to anyone. So even though someone is trying to send email ID using your domain, they won't be able to get that email delivered. Next slide, please. This one, that Smart Network Data Services SNDS, this is a service offered by Outlook.com. And, I have actually explained these steps of how exactly you can set this up. And, Outlook.com, gives you the data you need to improve reputation on Outlook.com. And, you could use this data somewhat like DMARC records, the DMARC alerts that you will be getting it, keep your mailing list clean, and to monitor the IPs you control for your usual behavior. And this also help you to find it out that, how many emails are getting into, junk folder, and how many time, people are actually complaining to ISPs through Outlook.com that, these emails are spam. So the detailed instructions on how you can actually build this smart network data services, it is just there in the last link of this slide. And just in case if you need any help, you can always reach out to us and we will be able to assist you. Next slide, please. In blacklisting alert, and this is something that I actually got it implemented for one of my client, and this is all about finding out, and this is mainly for the dedicated IP, not for shared IP, because for shared IP, Marketo is taking care of everything. Their email compliance team keeps a very close eye of whether, that specific IP which is being shared by many Marketo instances is always clear and clean, and then, no emails are being blocked. But just in case if you are on dedicated IP, how will you and I as an individual get to know whether those that are dedicated IP is blocked by one of the ISP? Side, this actually gives us the ability to find it out. And these all the first 3 slides that I covered, including this one, these all are free. Means we need not to pay to anyone. Everything is just free. How to set up the DMARC policy, how to set up the SNDS policy, and how to set up an alert for blacklisting IP. These are all free. And you can actually see the detailed report based on all the ISPs, and then, you can also get the notification whether your IP is not blacklisted from how many days. And the beauty of this solution is that A, it is free. Second, it will check your IP address against 100 based email blacklist. And you can always set up the alerts, and the detailed instructions are kept over here, in the link of the slide, and you can set up based on that. Next slide, please. And then this one is my favorite. However, it is a paid tool. This is the advanced feature offered by Marketo that is called the email deliverability package. The beauty of this package is that when you're sending out an email, you can always send it out the email to the seed list to check whether the email is being delivered to your inbox or to the junk folder. It delivers it actually perform a very good delivery monitoring. It gives us the reporting on delivery. It has the ISP alert dashboard, and you could also check the email rendering and link and HTML validation on more than 70 plus devices, and then it content check as well. Next slide, please. This is how the results usually we get to see when we have the email deliverability package of Marketo installed. That you could see that it shows us the campaign deliverability in the last 7 days. And on the right hand side, if you see on the top right hand side, it shows that from the last 30 days there were no issues with SPF and DKIM. But just see the email deliverability, that how many emails are actually being sent to the inbox and how many were sent to the junk folder. Those are highlighted in green, those are being delivered to inbox, and the one which are in red, those are actually those were actually not means were actually blocked. um, and then you could also deliverability to Gmail in the last 30 days, deliverability to AOL in the last 30 days, and you can customize this dashboard. It is pretty easy to do that. Next slide, please. You also have the ability of setting up the alert mechanism, so that just in case if the top 5 ISPs are blocking our email campaign by maybe by 5% or by 10%, we should get an alert. If our emails are not being delivered to more than 80% of the primary tab of various email clients, it is going to send us an alert. So there are various alerts that we could set up. Those are based on the email clients, by geography, by ISPs. Pretty good to get the insight. And all you need to do is just download the seed list from the email deliverability package and send the test email to that list, and you will get to send the email to that seed list, and you will be able to get these cool insights. Next slide, please. And this is how you will actually get to know that when you will send out an email to the seed list of email deliverability package, will show you that whether how many emails have actually passed and how many emails are being filtered. What is the reason behind that, why those filters actually triggered, whether it was spam content, whether it was blockage by ISPs. You will be able to see everything through that. And if you see, everything is fine with SPF, DKIM, and DMARC, but looks like there is some sort of blockage by ISPs. Next slide, please. And this is how they will actually this tool actually gives us the insight that which providers actually placing this email to their inbox and which are not. So this gives us that maybe just see here, Office 365, although Microsoft is always little uh, tough to handle when it comes to email campaigns and all, but you will get to know that this is something which we need to look into, and maybe either get SNDS implemented to find it out what is being broken, or get the best practices of email HTML coding implemented to get these issues sorted out. Next slide, please. And these are the results based on the um, other vendors like Barkuda and Symantec. These are security companies, something, and because these are being deployed on the email recipient clients, and at times these can also get spam alert, and then it also helps us in finding out that which one of these security companies are having good reputation with our IP and domain, and where those are placing our email campaigns. And just in case if something is being blacklisted, we will get to see that down here, and they will also give us an option how to unblock our IP or domain from this specific company. Next slide, please. These are the few ways that, just in case if there are spam complaints, how to find those spam complaints. Think about it, whenever you get an email on Gmail or any of the online email client, you have the option of directly complaining to Gmail or other ISPs that, hey, this email is spam. If just in case you get it, how to find that out? The best solution that I suggest that, although it is a paid one, doesn't come with the standard out of the box Marketo instance, is use Revenue Cycle Explorer. So with the help of Revenue Cycle Explorer, you could see the email complaints broken down by email addresses, name, or by email name. And I'll not name one of my client. When I was auditing their email deliverability, I found out one of their email was specifically reported by 1,400 recipients as spam. Think about it, how bad the reputation of their IP would be. And no matter how much money they are actually spending on various email campaigns, setting up A/B testing, and adding various assets, those emails are definitely going to land into this into the or going to get out either by the ISPs or by the security companies. And the another thing is the feedback loop. This is something that you could easily find it out in the smart list of Marketo, where you can actually use this criteria where the data value change. You could use unsubscribe and the new value is true, and reason you need to use contain complaint, and it will be able to give you all those people who have actually complained about uh, meeting the criteria. Could be last 365 days or how many days you want have this to be tracked. But my favorite is Revenue Cycle Explorer, because it gives us a lot of insights. Like it can even tell us that from name, the sender name, the sender email address, the subject of the email, everything in one report. It is going to be like the pivot table of Excel, and you could export the data and analyze it further. You can also add the email IDs who have actually complained, so that you could just see that, if your existing customers are complaining about your emails, then it's a big concern. So yeah, these are the two ways to actually check spam complaints through Marketo. Next slide, please. And I'll pass the baton to my friend Darshil. And just in case any concerns, please feel free to reach out to us, and we will try our best to help you with the best of our ability.
So we have a couple of questions that came in for you, Ajay, during your presentation. If you wouldn't mind just giving us a few minutes. We
Sure.
had one question, which is, what are your experiences of DMARC notifications within Marketo? And that came from Derek.
Okay. The DMARC is something. It is something like a DNS record that you need to set it up with the help of your IT in your DNS settings, and those emails will get into the email ID which you are going to specify that, hey, that's where I want to receive the notification. It is not only specific to just Marketo. Think about it, if you're using 5 different email platforms to send out the email, and I'm just making this up, Qualtrics for survey management, Salesforce to send out any deal alert or any deal notification, and Marketo, maybe MailChimp or any competitor of Marketo. But you have not set up the SPF and DKIM. It will send us the consolidated report, and then we need to analyze it one by one. A bit time consuming. But if you're asking about my question about the email deliverability with Marketo, so far I have never come across any issues with Marketo, because provided the SPF and DKIM records are properly published, and those are in green color. Once or twice I found that some issue with something, and then somehow the DKIM and SPF policies were not published for one client for 30 minutes or 60 minutes. I'm not sure what the issue was, but we found that with the help of DMARC policy as well. So this is what I would suggest, and I hope that I answered your question.
Perfect. And one last question was around the deliverability tool within Marketo itself. It might be more of a general question for our resident Marketo staff member, Russell, but it was around pricing. Do you know if that is automatically included in people's subscriptions, or is it a paid extra?
It is a paid one. The name of the company is 250 OK. So It is 250, okay, which is being tied up with Marketo, and the email deliverability package is of 250, okay. So it is a paid one, and I'm sorry, I don't know the cost of it.
No, and it's actually dependent on the size of the install you have as well. So yeah, it's a pay for item based on the size of your database. And actually, we are actually upgrading from 250 as well to Validity.
Awesome. And I believe Validity acquired 250, okay, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, correct.
Perfect. That's all of the questions. Thank you.
Yeah, so if you need to sort of discuss it, talk to your account manager or your CSM and get them to give you an idea of what the price is. Likewise for Revenue Explorer as well.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Darshil,
All right.
over to you.
Yeah, so to say, we'll hand over to you, Darshil.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Courtney and Ajay. So, hey everyone. So this is Darshil. I'll be presenting on the auditing the Marketo instance. What are the steps? What are the considerations? And what are the things that you should be doing? Auditing Marketo instance. So before we jump into the topic, I would just like to give a small introduction about myself. So as Courtney said in the beginning, I work as a Marketo consultant at Deloitte Digital. I'm a Marketo champion, certified solution architect, 2 times expert and community advisor. I'm based out of Bangalore, India, and in my free time when I'm not working, I love exploring cars, automobiles, tech gadgets, and I also love binge watching Netflix. So without further ado, let's dive right into the agenda. So today I'll be discussing all about Marketo audit. What is it? Why should we be conducting audit, and when particularly we should be conducting an audit? And post that I'll be covering what are the things that you should be auditing primarily in each of the different sections of the Marketo. So I intend to cover all of the major things that you should be auditing in here in this presentation, and towards the end, I have a resource on the Marketo community a few weeks back. I have linked that towards the end of the presentation, that you can refer to get the complete end-to-end insights of each and every section of the Marketo that you can probably go in and audit. So, and at the end, I will also cover some of the best practices on how to document the audit results. So these are some of the best practices that has worked very well for me, and that has been appreciated by that we have worked with throughout my career. So let's jump right in. So Marketo audit. So when I say audit, it definitely means that it's a process when we are reviewing the core Marketo implementation that is in place against the Marketo's established best practices, and also the best practices and the processes that you have in your organization, be it marketing team, be it sales team, be it your marketing operations team. You must ensure that what you have in the instance and what the processes that your marketing and sales team follow for driving the leads and the conversions down the funnel. So that is what the ultimate goal of auditing is. You need to audit. Probably the Marketo audit drives it gives an opportunity to scale your marketing automation implementation to a higher level up. Your marketing automation instance would definitely become a little more mature, a little more aligned with your processes and your tech stack. So on the same line, what are some of the benefits of auditing? So auditing gives an opportunity to identify what is working, what is broken, what needs to be improved down the line, so as to ensure that everything is perfectly fine and in order. And you also have an opportunity to check if the current processes that your marketing team is following, that your sales team is following, and the market implementation itself, those are scalable down the line and are your businesses have a goal for ultimately. And this is one of the best time to actually align your Marketo programming and get your marketing team and sales team on the same page, kind of align, do a realignment or a correction, or and make sure the gap between the marketing and sales, if there is any, in terms of the implementation in Marketo and the CRM, is being addressed. So this is one of the perfect time in auditing the Marketo good place for that. And apart from that, you also get an opportunity to ensure the data in your Marketo DB is actually accurate and it's in a proper shape to drive results. We know that bad data has never been successful for good conversion for better opportunities. So, and apart from that, as Ajay talked, like during auditing, you can also see the difference between email delivery and the email deliverability. You get an opportunity to ensure that communication are landing up in the right inbox, not in the spam. You have an opportunity to see the engagements over the time. You probably will be having a proper analytics section in place where you are measuring the the success of individual programs over the time as and when they occur. But auditing gives an opportunity to consider the entire or the over the time. You can see how your marketing operations programs are driving. And moving ahead, when you should audit, so you should definitely consider auditing an instance when you inherit a new instance. Probably your company acquired a smaller company or other company which has a Marketo instance in place. So that is a must or the one of the probable strong cue to consider auditing. And apart from that, I also recommend doing a periodic auditing of the Marketo instance that you have in place. So for most of the clients, like quarterly auditing works based upon the number of requests and the number of programs and the team size, the marketing and the sales team size that you have in place. So moving ahead, so I will be covering in for each section the most important tabs or the most important section that you should be considered while auditing. So I usually start my auditing from the Marketo's administration section because this is the section that governs or drives or has the global level. So in order to ensure that the market is actually driving results, we need to ensure that the administration is set up properly. So I dive in the administration. I start with the users and roles. So the first thing that you need to ensure that all the users that are in currently in Marketo, those are active. You need to ensure that there are no users, those should not be having access to Marketo. They are having, or probably somebody who has left the organization or somebody who is not active since quite a long time. Like give a second thought about their access. Do they really need access or not if they haven't been logged into the instance since quite a time? Secondly, you should also consider auditing all the roles that you have in your instance, the out-of-the-box standard roles that Marketo gives you. And apart from that, the custom roles that you have, you need to ensure that all the roles that are there, they match up with the different roles and the jobs and responsibilities that your marketing team has. And each user is appropriate to their responsibilities as well. Secondly, apart from that, when it comes to the landing page CNAME and fallback URL, you need to ensure that the home page URL, the fallback, the error page URL in the landing page section of the administration is perfectly configured. And I would also suggest looking at the DNS records just to make sure the DNS entries are fine and there are no issues where in case the actual landing page URL fails, navigated to the fallback or the error page. And similarly, the same case applies to the email domains that you're using. You need to ensure that the SPF, PKIM, and the branded tracking links in them are properly configured. So if you use multiple workspaces, you need to ensure that all of the different workspaces and the tracking link for each of the workspaces is properly configured. And the SPF and PKIM records for all the different email communication domain that you have in your instance are properly set up. And next is the email communication limits. So, like email communication limits, you need to ensure that they are set up as per the email tolerance level of the audience that you have in your database. So, like based on industry and the audience that you have in your database, the email communication limits vary from industry to industry. So, you need to ensure that those are properly set up, and they're actually that they shouldn't be too high or they shouldn't be too low. Based like you can go engagements of the time to come up with the accurate email communication limit that suits the email tolerance level of your audience. And if you use like multiple workspaces and partitions, you need to ensure that, or probably document the different workspaces that you have and how they are mapped with the partitions. And you need to ensure that and document if the like all the workspaces are mapped to the correct primary lead, the lead assignment rules and the audit campaigns. If you have in place to assign the leads, the new people to the respective partitions are properly set. And along the way, like if you find any workspace or partitions that you no longer need or that is no longer required by the business, then you should also note that down and probably prepare to plan to consolidate those workspace and retire that end of the day, and like probably retire it before, so that like no need on in this workspace. And apart from that, you should also consider auditing or looking at the launch point services that you have in your Marketo instance, like all the out of the box integrations to the webinar platforms, to the LinkedIn leads and forms, to the Facebook integrations, etc. You need to make sure the field mapping is correct. You need to make sure any of the services are not actually retiring in near time, or if they have actually retired, you need to properly set it up or delete it or disengage the service if that is no longer required. And I would also consider monitoring the API usages over time. So if you have like say like 50,000 API limits and you are constantly hitting like 48,000 API calls per day, then you can probably consider like getting in more limits, purchasing in more limits with the Marketo. And definitely look out for the external integrations that you have with the Marketo. It is always advised to have a separate API user created for all the integrations specifically. So you need to have proper rules created for each of the API users, and they are properly integrated, and like the correct API user is being used by the correct integration. And next is custom object and activity. So in that you need to ensure that you have only the relevant custom objects created. Rest of the custom objects that you no longer use or need, you can probably, because Marketo has a limit of having the approved custom objects in the instance. And apart from that, the custom object records are also they also have an upper limit of close to 2 million records per custom object. And if you use webhooks, and I'm not sure a lot of people are using the self-service flow steps, but if you use those, you need to ensure that the correct fields are mapped with the webhooks, and the correct inbound and the outbound fields are also mapped with the self-service flow steps. And deleting or at least looking down the webhooks and self-service flow steps that you no longer are using. And last but not the least, the CRM configuration. You need to go through the sync errors into the CRM tab. Probably you can go via the notification tab or in the CRM tab under the Marketo administration itself to get hold of all the sync errors. And field mapping, you need to ensure that all the fields between the Marketo and the CRM are properly mapped. And I like to of a field mapping document where all the CRM fields or the Marketo fields having their friendly label and the APIs that are mapped with each other are documented at one place. So so as to not log into Marketo every time. So you need to ensure that the field mapping on all the objects are properly configured. And if you use these CRM custom object sync, so you need to ensure that are also properly set up. And last but not the least, the Marketo sales insights, you need to ensure that the best bet in your Marketo that's properly set up with the best bets and the other scoring configurations that the flames and the stars that you have in the Marketo sales insights as well. So moving ahead with the marketing activities. So this is a bit like this probably may require a big chunk of your time while auditing the instance. So the first thing that you should be looking at the marketing activities is the folder structure. So it is always advised to have like house the operational and the non-operational, that is normal marketing operations programs in separate folders. So that is how you can go ahead and audit all the programs that you have under the operational and the non-operational folders to ensure within the programs within them are actually having the proper folder structure, like the campaigns, the assets, the landing pages, etc., have their own folder created as a part of best practices. And apart from that, if you have like multiple workspaces, you need to ensure that the programs that are created in each of the workspaces are relevant to the business. And any of the marketing teams are not creating the workspace or like programs in other workspace. And in order to avoid that, it's best to ensure that the right person is having the right access to the workspaces that we discussed in the users and roles in the admin configuration. And like most of the organization, if not all, they have a proper naming convention in place, and that is one of the best practices and like must-have thing for each of the organization using Marketo, to ensure that all the programs, all the landing pages, and all the assets created in the programs, they follow the set process, they follow the set naming convention practices. And down the line, the programs which are done, which are not relevant as per the existing marketing operations or the practices, those are archived following the best practices. That is, the trigger campaigns are being shut off, those are deactivated, the landing pages and the assets are actually unapproved, so that they don't can't be used. We flow through the deactivated campaigns. And you need to also probably work with the marketing operations team to ensure that the clonable program templates that you have, those are actually properly set up. If there are any adjustments required to those, you can probably note that down while auditing the marketing activities section. And the process centralization, like some of the campaigns, some of like the sync to SFDC are best created as a centralized campaign, separate campaign underneath each of the program. So that is something you can audit and look for any of the campaigns which can be probably centralized over the time. You can also look for those campaign. And I also like to look at the campaign queue over the time during the busy hours of the instance to see if there are a lot of campaigns in the queue, and probably adjust the priority of the campaigns as well. If I see any of the operational campaign getting deprioritized over the other campaigns. And on the priority, need to ensure that the correct campaigns and only the like relevant campaigns have been adjusted that priority, and not like too many of the campaigns have been adjusted that priority, because then it would make no sense to have that feature. And of course, it's as a best practice, you need to ensure, or like while auditing, go through all the active trigger campaigns and make a list of trigger campaigns that are obsolete or no longer needed, so that they can be deactivated. That will help speed up your instance as well. And these other Marketo has the upper limit when it comes to the active engagement programs. So you need to make sure only the relevant engagement programs are active, and the engagement programs which are done, you can actually turn their program status as off as well. And if you have like smart list subscription, you can go ahead and see the subscription, and if there are any obsolete or subscriptions which are not required, you can go ahead and deactivate and delete those as well. And when it comes to the operational setup, like there are a lot of things that comes under this umbrella, framework to the data management, the preference center, etc. So I wouldn't be going into detail of each, but you need to ensure that the entire lead management framework that you have is aligned with the marketing team and the sales team. All the stages that you have in the marketing and sales are actually aligned, and the lead journey from marketing to sales is down the line closed loop. And similar case is the scoring, and this is the best time to align with the marketing, so that everybody's on the same page when it comes to the how lead flows from marketing and the sales as well. And moving ahead with the data management and the interesting movements, so you can align with the sales team to see if they need any more information passed in the interesting movements, and if there are any additional data management sources that you have added in the past, you can also ensure that those normalization steps are also being taken care. And it's always a good idea to compliance practices are always followed to the mark. And if you have any other operational program, it's one of the best practices to they are also properly done. So moving ahead with the database section. So one of the things that I feel about Marketo is that the standard system smart list, those are like not properly valued. Not all of the people give a lot of value to it. So of going through all these system smart lists that we have. So let me just have a sip of water. So yeah, sorry about that. So so all these system smart lists that you have, you need to like for each of the workspaces. So you need to ensure that there are no absolute junk records, marketable records, non-marketable records as well. You can find out from those smart lists. And I also have a like follow practice of creating smart lists that have the active and the inactive records. So that I can see how many of the marketable records are actually active and how many of them the non-marketable records are actually inactive. And over the line, you can also have the bounce analysis, or if there are any soft bounces or hard bounces that you're seeing in plenty, and note down while you're auditing the database section. And if you have a lot of obsolete or junk records, say possible duplicates, or maybe a lot of records with the empty email addresses, so you can have those as well. Note it down and probably remove those records down the line if they are not like absolute or junk records. They just are consuming a lot of space on your DB. And when it comes to segmentations, you need to ensure that those are and you can unapprove the segmentations that you have no longer are using. And if you have any custom dedupe logic set up in Marketo, apart from the email address, if you are using any other email field, then you need to ensure that you are not creating a lot of duplicate records in Marketo as well. And over the time, if you have any illegal field values for the records or missing demographic or the essential fields, you can also create different hold of those records as well. And as I said in this presentation, you need to set the difference between deliverability and the delivery, the reputation score, the spam traps, and the different monitoring pertaining to deliverability. You need to ensure that those are also properly monitored during the audit as well. Moving ahead with the design studio. So in the design studio, a lot of things may not apply to the people who are actually the instance and have the instance like doing a periodic audit of the instance. So when it comes to the forms, you can actually go through the marketing activities and try to consolidate multiple forms or the forms which are similar and create a single global forms, because that is always good and easier to handle than having 10 different forms of the same thing. And when it comes to images and files, I usually like to have proper folder structures for images and files that we have. And I also like to have a proper archive folder for the images and files. So you need to ensure that all the different images and files you have, those are properly, present in different types of folders pertaining to each images and files. And proper workspace and folder organization is also a must for this. And if you have snippets or emails or landing page templates, you need to ensure that they are properly responsive. Clean coding standards are also being followed in order when it comes to emails as well. And for the analytics section, you can go ahead and see all the reports, all the subscription, and you need to ensure that the reports which are obsolete or which are no longer being used by the people, you can actually deactivate or maybe delete them, or maybe move into the archive folder as well. And for the revenue cost explorer, if you're using that, similar is the case. If you're no longer using any of the dashboards or reports, you can actually delete or archive them. The workspace and folder organization also applies to the analytics section as well. You need to ensure that all the reports within the analytics section are actually organized into the different workspace appropriate to it in the different folders underneath each workspace. And for the RC model, you need to ensure that all the stages are relevant to the lead journey between marketing and sales, and the transition, the trigger, and the filter logic. If you are creating it outside of the like inside of the, you need to ensure that those are properly set up as well. And now comes the how to, like, what are some of the best practices for documenting audit results. So I usually create, like, throughout I'm auditing or going through each of these things that we just discussed, I like to, create a separate spreadsheet having different sheets for each of these subsections. So for example, admin configuration, data management, setup, RCM campaign. Sheets, I like to note on the results, my observations, and my follow-ups, or what are the things that needs to be adjusted based on how I went through each of the sections. So that helps us to have like everything that we audited in one place. And apart from that, I also like to create separate document. This is more oriented towards the tech. This is like 1 page or a 2 page document with all the audit feedbacks and remarks. So this serves as a high level document, and the workbook that I just spoken about, that serves as a detailed audit document. Prefer to create a SWOT analysis document, and that will have the executive summary of the items that are good, that are fine, that needs to be updated, etc. This serves as a document more for the executive team higher up, so as to see how the audit was conducted, what are the different results that gained after the audit, and down the line how the instance will be optimized as well. So as I said in the beginning, you can go ahead onto this blog where I have documented each and every section of the Marketo. So for example, there are sections that I didn't cover, for example, the SSO, the IP restrictions, because that may not apply to all. So in here, this particular blog, I have actually covered all the different sections pertaining to Marketo across the different tabs of Marketo, right from administration to the analytics to the designs to the marketing activities in here. So you can go ahead and look here as well for the entire detailed instructions and the things that you should be considered while auditing as well. So yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I won't share my screen just for the Q&A, but let's see. Did we have any questions that I might have missed? Did you see any, Ajay, come through that weren't answered? I know a couple of them were.
A couple of them were answered during the presentation, which is always fantastic. One question that is outstanding, though, is in terms of documentation for an approach like this, what's your preferred method? Do you use Word, PowerPoint, or something like Confluence or Trello to create documentation?
It depends on client to client. So for example, if I'm working with a client that does not have a Jira or Confluence, I mostly prefer or resort to the Excel itself. Like I go ahead and create a single workbook with different sheets of each items that I audited, be the RCM model, be the marketing activities, be the operational things, the administration things. So I like to create a single workbook that, but based on client requirements, if they need to have a Confluence page or the pages within the single Confluence pages detailing all the audit results for different sections of Marketo, that is also fine. I mean, in Confluence also probably I'll be creating a table itself for the high level results.
And then another question Emily brought up, which was great, which was, do you have any advice of what you can say to your leaders if they don't want you to spend the time taking the time to go through this audit and keeping the instance really tidy?
Yeah, I mean, over the time, Marketo degrades. Over the time, the processes changes with the team turning over, with new people coming in, with the older people going out. So as the process changes, the way you carry out your marketing changes, and your Marketo instance needs to adapt to that. And I think audit is the best way to find out the delta and probably optimize it to ensure that it is always technical perspectives on the same page with respect to the teams that are actually working on it. So I mean, I think that's a fair point to address the number of hours that would be spent on auditing an instance. So yeah.
Perfect. Does anybody else have any other questions?
We have one more that's
Just
come in.
add one thing over here, and I'm sorry to cut everyone in between. The another thing is that, just in case if the management is not very convinced about how to keep everything tidy, it is all about hygiene. We want to live in a hygiene environment. We want to eat healthy food, and if we are just not keeping our instance healthy, not now, but after few months or few years, it is going to be a night. Think about it. If any of the veteran or any of the marketing or person, if he or she leaves the organization, and if everything is not managed as per the best practices, the new person who is going to join, it is going to be nightmare for that person. That how to find out the programs. As a consultant, I get to see so many such things, where there are startups where they are not keeping their instances well, and then it is a nightmare for the new marketing person to actually start working on it and start fixing the issues. They will find that there are smart campaigns which are still activated, but those are archived. So many such things. For one of my clients instance, they were having 2,500 landing pages which were active, and just it spoils your SEO, it spoils so many things, just in case if you're not keeping this this engine, this Martech engine maintained well and running smoothly. So yeah, it is going to be a nightmare, not now, but after a few years, definitely, if we are not keeping our system tidy.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Ajay.
So I know we're very close to time, but we just have one last question, which is, what, in your view, is the most common problem when you inherit an instance?
Like the most common problem is the change management, the organization or the instance which is being inherited. The processes or the stuff that we have in the instances would be different from the instance or the things that the existing marketing team is following. So you need to ensure the lead management framework, how the the lead flows from one stage to another stage, from marketing to the sales team. For the instance that is being inherited, that should align with the marketing processes and that we have currently in place in the organization as well. So yeah, the lead management framework needs to be addressed properly in terms of strategy as well as in terms of implementation as well.
Perfect, thank you.
Amazing. Well, thank you guys so much. If you guys think of any questions, obviously, or you didn't want to write them here, just send them through, or you can send them directly to Darshil and Ajay. But we really appreciate you guys coming on today. This has been really good, and I have lots of takeaways and things I want to go implement and look more into. So this is really great. We will be in touch, everybody, with details about the next mug. And like we said, hopefully it'll be in person, which will be very exciting. But I hope you guys have a good rest of your day or evening, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank you, everyone.
much.
Bye.
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 Thanks, everyone.